Hey there. So I've got some questions lately about intuitive dosing of magic mushrooms. Like, can you do it whenever you feel like it? Can you do when you feel that you need it? And the other days that you don't feel you need it, can you just back off and not do them? Or what kind of dosing can you do on your own? I'm going to tackle all of that and a lot more on today's episode of Microdose U. I am Dr. Dave. Thanks so much for being here with me. So we're not going to really be speaking too much today about the actual dosage, like anywhere from they say a microdose is point oh five point oh five grams, which is 50 milligrams, to upwards of 300 milligrams, zero point 0.3 grams. Make sure you know that metric system conversion back and forth. You really need to know all that, but I'll help you today with it. But more so, how often should we be dosing? And I'll say it depends. It really depends because first of all, it depends what you're dosing for. Depends why you're using this medicine, and also it depends how long you've been doing it. Because when you first start off, when you're a beginner in microdosing, you really don't know exactly what to do, how it's going to feel, what the effects are going to be, the progress. So when you first start off, I always teach, and again, it's not set in stone, but I always teach to have some type of a regimen, some type of a protocol, which typically would be 3, 4, 5 days on at a time. I mean, 3 or 4 or 5 days on in a row, and then maybe take a couple days off. You notice how I said 3, 4, or 5, and the reason I'm saying that it really doesn't matter a lot. Like I think pick what you feel that you're comfortable with. I think when I made my very first episode, that was the absolute beginner's guide to magic mushrooms, to psilocybin magic mushrooms. I'm pretty sure I was more rigid back then, and I probably said, you got to do 4 days and then take 2 days off and then do another 4 days. Again, I don't remember exactly what the regimen was. It might have been 3, 4 days on, but I was pretty rigid, saying that you have to stick to this. And then, you take your days off, and then, the next cycle, you do it again and do it again. Now, I'm not so sure it's all that crucial. I think it just, again, it depends on so many other factors. Like what, first of all, why are you microdosing? Are you doing it for depression or anxiety? And how bad do you feel? How often do you feel anxious? How often do you feel depressed? It just, there are a lot of things that really go into it. But still, I would say as a beginner, first timer, or, within your first even 6 months or so, stick to a pretty good regimen. Again, 3 days on, 4 days on, 5 days on. It doesn't really matter to me. And then take a couple of days off. So if you want like per week, I'd say roughly average 4 to 5 days a week. Again, it's not set in stone, but if you want like a little average, 4 to 5 days a week. Now, I was asked though, what happens when you're much more experienced? Can you do it a little bit more by feel? And my answer is absolutely yes. And on many levels, it's really interesting. So I'll talk about the actual how the medicine can be consumed, and how often you should do it, how many days in a row, how many days off. I'll talk about all that. So, as you probably know, I'm coming up onto 4 years of being a microdoser, and it's changed my life immensely. I mean, the first year, when I first started doing it, as you probably know, if you've been with me for a while, it was mainly for anxiety and depression. But once that was under control, I've been using it for so many different things. Hence, that's why I say when you're like a little bit later on in your microdosing journey, there might be other things you're trying to use it for. So it might not be the type of thing that you need to take it very, very often for depression or anxiety. It could be something else. But what I do though, now I used to be pretty strict about capsules, and they would be weighed out, and the dose will be exact. And my average dose is probably about 200 milligrams. However, now the way I do it, I generally, 9 times out of 10, I will just take a bite of a chocolate bar. And it's pure estimation. It's only by experience. And I wouldn't advise doing this if you're brand new to this, but from experience, I know basically exactly the size of a bite that I take off the chocolate bar, I know how I'm going to be feeling over the next few hours. I know exactly. So again, it's not 100%, but it's close enough to make me feel very comfortable to do it that way. So I usually use chocolate. I usually use a chocolate bar, and it works really, really well for me. And probably if I had to share what my average dose is, probably still around 200 to 250, something like that. But again, it's an estimate because I'm taking a bite off of a chocolate bar, but it's somewhere in that range. Now, how often do I do it, or how often should you do it? Now, we're two different people, so what I do is not necessarily what you would do, but I'll share what I do, and that might at least help get you to where you want to be when you get, when you have at least several months under your belt of microdosing. Um, Although I'm doing it absolutely to maintain my mental health because I don't really feel any depression or anxiety at all anymore. But I feel that as I microdose, as I continue to microdose, I'm just maintaining. If I totally stopped and never did another microdose again in my life, would it come back? Maybe. I don't know the answer, but there's so many other reasons that I am microdosing that's kind of taking care of itself right there. So why do I microdose and how often do I do it? Well, I'll give you a little example, and I'm going to do an entire episode on this one, but I'll give you, I just got back a little while ago from an acupuncture appointment. I've got some a painful foot that I've tried everything for. It's plantar fasciitis, and it is, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. It's just terrible, but I've tried, you name anything from pain medication to localized pain medication to physical therapy to all these devices I have at home that I roll my foot over and stretches, and I've done almost everything, and I've had some success but also some setbacks. So I started doing acupuncture, and again, I don't want to give too much away because I am going to do a full episode because it's a really, really incredible experience. But so for example, today I had an appointment and I took a big bite off a chocolate bar. When I say a big bite, I probably took about, I say probably about 300 milligrams. That was, again, total estimation. And this appointment today was very special because it made me feel really, really good. And on this episode that I will record about that, I'm going to compare it to the other appointments I've had when I was not microdosing. And there's definitely a difference there. So that's a typical example of what I might microdose for. I definitely microdose sometimes before I go skiing or do some type of athletic event is not the right word, but some type of athletic what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. Athletic. Oh my God, why do I have a brain block? And I cannot. There's definitely a word that fits in there. If you know the word I'm looking for, just put it in the comments below. If you're on YouTube here, an athletic, not event. Okay, forget that. But anyway, I will typically microdose for skiing, maybe for hiking sometimes. Although lately this season it's been pretty bad because of my plantar fasciitis. I have not been able to be doing anything. Although I joined Orange Theory. Do you know what Orange Theory is? It's a gym kind of studio where you do they have classes and you do HIIT, high intensity interval training. It's very, very intense. And typically I will microdose before one of those sessions because you know something? It just feels better on a microdose. I can't tell you why. It's not that it feels bad when I'm not doing a microdose, but it just enhances to the entire experience when I'm in there sweating and working really hard with high intensity interval training for 1 full hour. It really does work for me. Another example where I use it for is, and I say probably at least 75% of the time before I take a Japanese lesson. I take Japanese lessons 3 times a week by Zoom with somebody that from Japan. And I'd say, and they're usually very early in the morning also. And so typically I will do like a microdose probably 6 a.m. and then get on to my lesson, which is going to probably be usually it's 6:30 or 7 a.m. And on a microdose, I will tell you, I think it's really good for cognitive cognitive ability. And I think I do really well during my lessons speaking Japanese when I do a microdose. So those are some of the reasons, again, other than mental health issues, sports, learning something, cognitive ability, things like that. What do you microdose for? Throw it in the comments if you like down below. I'd love to know, like, what are your main reasons for microdosing and how long have you been doing it? So that's how I do it. And again, I probably average, if I had to be totally transparent about this, probably 4 to 5 days a week. Microdose 4 to 5 days a week. It just works for me, and you don't have to do it like that, but I do it by intuitive feeling when I really want to do it, when I feel it's something that is going to enhance the activity that I'm about to do. So again, it's really up to you. I mean, sometimes by feel, I can tell if I'm going to be getting myself into a social or family type situation, and I feel like I just think a microdose will be a lot better if I, going into this situation. I think a microdose would help me out quite a bit through it. I will do it for that reason. So you've got to be kind of your own judge and only do it intuitively, as I said, only intuitively, after I'd say at least 6 months to a year of experience doing it the other way, doing it carefully with, a regimen and weighed out capsules and everything just right. Although having said that, it's really not an exact science. So even if you deviate, whoops, hit my mic. Sorry about that. Even if you deviate, you're not going to like fall apart and go wrong. It's going to probably be fine anyway. Just because a lot of times we do like to do things by feel. I do really appreciate questions like this. It helps me, prepare for episodes, and I really want to be talking about what people really want to hear. Remember, I got a brand new episode that comes out every single Wednesday. Check out microdoseu.com. It's my website, microdose with the letter U on the end of it. What else? Just want to thank everybody that's over on Patreon by the same name, Microdose U, over on Patreon. We're having a great time there. I'm trying to make more little, not daily videos yet, but I'm trying to really give you a lot of stuff over there. So I appreciate if you're over there, and always check the show notes here. Try to put some good links in there. And a short time ago, I did an episode that was a 9-minute guided meditation. And oh my God, I think it's really life-changing. If you want to experience it, go ahead and check it out. It's right there. I'll see you next time.